Mankind means and uses of communication, individual and mass, has changed utterly and changed the world. No revolutions in technology has as visibly marked the human condition as those in transport, moving goods and people. They have opened continents, transformed living standards, spread diseases, fashions, and folks around the world. Yet technologies to transport ideas and information across long distance has arguably achieved even more. They have spread knowledge, the basis of economic growth. The most basic of all these, the written word, was already ancient by 1000. By then China had in basic form the print press, used carved wooden blocks, and the key to its future, movable metal type, was 4 centuries away. The Chinese were hammered by their thousands of ideograms. Even so, they could soon invent primitive multiple type made of clay, and by the 13th century they have movable wooden type. And the real secret was the use of an easily cast metal. When it came, Europe, aided by simply Western alphabet, leaped forward with it. One reason why Asia civilians in 1000 far ahead of European then fell behind was that they lacked the technology to reproduce and diffuse its ideas. And Jonathan Gutenberg invention in the 1440s was built not just the Reformation but the Enlightenment, but Europe agriculture and industry revolution too. Yet, information technology on its own would not have gone far. Literally, better transport technology too was needed. They're not lacking, but how the big change came much later. It was railway and the steamship first allowed the speedy, widespread dissemination of news and ideas over long distance. Both technologies in turn required people and organizations to develop their use. They got them for individual communication, the postal service for wide publics, the publishing industry. Throughout the 19th century, the postal service formed the bedrock of national and international communications. Crucial to its growth has been the introduction of the ground postage stamp, combined with a low price and payment by the sender. Britain put all three of these ideas in effect in 1840. By then, the word mail was taking off. It changed the world. Merchants in American eastern cities used it to gather information in regions far off cotton grower and farmer, who found that New York knew more about crop prices than they did. The American debate about slavery offered abolitions a low-cost way to spread their views, just as later technology has cut the cost and widespread scope of political lobby. The, everywhere, its development drove and was driven by those of transport. In Britain, travelers rode by mail coach to post inns. In America, the post subsidized road building. Indeed, argued Dan Switch, a professor of communications at the University of California, there was the connection between the post, transport, and the national integration that ensured that the mail remained a public enterprise even in the United States, the first and only government-run communications medium, and until at least the 1840s, the biggest organization in the land. And in most countries, the United States was an exception. The carriers of mail because in turn the provider of telegraphy and then of the telephone. The change has not only been one of speed and distance, though, but of audience. At the start of the millennium, with Ray's exception, King, Schiff, and the churchman, a man's words can reach no further than his voice, not just in range but in whom they reached. Godspeed moved fast, but it from medial mouse to air or mobile phone to phone. But for some purpose, efficient communication in mass communication, regular, cheap, quick, and reliable. When it became possible, it transformed the world. Now one voice could reach distant thousands. Of all the mass medium, from ancient office official or personal inspiration on stone to today satellite broadcaster, those printed on paper has had the most profound influence. The book, favorite, and newspaper has spread knowledge, transforming economy, politics, and religion. Before Gutenberg, books, even the read of them, let alone the ownership, was largely the preserve of monks and the rich. Churchmen had their work of developing. A few bibliophiles, thinkers, and students were keen to read classical authors, but all have to be copied by scribes, not machines. They came a Gutenberg device and within 15 years was prepared with around 9 million books. The press turned in 60 German tongues alone. In 1498, 8,000 letters of individual was printed in a single city, Barcelona. By 1539, Europeans were printing books in the New World too. From the supply and demand boom, there has been an audience able to read. Of course, the spread of education saw that Europe's rising middle classes, increasingly literate, demanded Bibles that could read themselves in language they understood, as well as the details of new philosophy, geography, and scientific discoveries. Printing spread plays and poetry. None of this advance just happened. It required printers and in time a new industry publisher. For centuries after Gutenberg, there little change in the way books was made. Leather cover was used, and a thick paper. All aspects of the trade was dominated by the printer. It was the publisher and the retail bookseller as well. He was also soon recognized as a potential subversive force. From the early days of printing, the church has tried to censor books, drawing up an index of forbidden ones. The Inquisition kept author and the printer in line. Philosopher, to prevent their work being burned, was obligated dedicated to the proper authority. Even the rationalist content was accurately submitted. Monarchy was not far behind the church in the substitution, requiring books to be licensed, and they persisted in the practice far longer than the church could. Writers in 19th century Russia repeatedly had trouble with the census. Their 20th century successors were to hit it worse. Technology has now brought the most potent tools of communication ever available to the individual. With email or website, he and or she can now publish to one, except to hundreds, to tens of thousands. The noise about the web is about all about its use for selling and buying. Huge changes it will bring, but the best change may be a new empowerment of the individual, a return to Paul Gutenberg days, when one man's voice could reach as far as almost any other.